The People's Blueprint, Part 3 and 4. Hello, this is my son, Goddess 777, and I am back with part 3 and 4 of The People's Blueprint. In Part 1 and 2, we learned the game that they have been running, and who the real enemy is in Part 2, and how to follow the money. Now in Part 3 and 4, we will learn 3, the solution that they buried, and how local is where the power is. In Part 4, we will learn how to build our own politics and the community candidate model. We talked about in 1 and 2 the puppeteer, the puppet master. But this is what they don't want you to figure out. They don't want you to know this. And they worked hard to make sure that you didn't learn this in school. As I was ending the other Part 1 and 2, they worked hard. The most powerful politicians and the most powerful political positions for your daily life, as I said, ending the other Part 1 and 2, it's not the president. It's not even your senator. Because, we think this, like the president is very important and the senator and all of that. But it's not them. Guess who it is? It's your city council member. Very important. That's local. It's also your school board, your county commissioner, your sheriff, and also your district attorney. So let me explain to you why these different positions are very important locally and why it matters. So let me ask you a question. Who decides if your neighborhood gets a new park or another liquor store or something like that? Guess who decides that? The city council. Who decides if your child's school gets new books or the school gets shut down? Guess who? The school board. Who decides if a developer can bulldoze your community and build condos you can't even afford? And we see how, high things are going up with the mortgages and the rent and the taxes and all that stuff. Guess who decides that? Your county commissioner. Who decides if your son gets or your daughter gets treated like a criminal or a citizen when the police show up? Guess who? The sheriff and the district attorney. These individuals in these positions control your actual life locally. And the sad part is most of these elections are decided by a few hundred votes, and it's sometimes less than that. So after the 1965 Voting Rights Act passed, the melanated communities understood this. In just only 10 years, the melanated elected officials went from just 70 to over 1,300. Not in Congress, in cities, in counties, and on school boards. Let me say it again. After the Voting Rights of 1965 passed, melanated communities understood that it only took 10 years for the melanated elected officials to go from 70 to 1,300 in the local, which is cities and counties and on school boards. And this changed things. The melanated school board members changed what got funded. The literacy gap started closing. That's documented. So when all this happened, when they seen the changes that was going on from the Voting Rights Act of 1965 being passed, they saw how the people was pulling together in the community, coming together, and more of the melanated people that had the people's interest in mind. When they saw all this, what they do? They came out the local power. They came specifically out the local power. You know what they did? They passed state laws to take over the local school boards. They wanted to take over the state. They gerrymandered the city council districts, and they also moved election to dates when the voter turnouts would be lower. So they really saw the power in the local positions, and so they came after that. You know why they did it? Because they knew, and we knew, and we know that local is where the real power lives. And look, this is the beautiful thing about it. Listen, local elections are where your organized community has the most power. Because, when it's local like that, it's more personal. Because the corporate dark money is less dominant when it's like the local government. It not saying that it's perfect. Not saying that there's not any discrepancies and shady stuff going on with the local officials and the local elections. But, these are people that you can actually reach. You know what I'm saying? It could be just a little more transparent. Not saying it's perfect. Okay, because you can build personal relationships, and it matters. Like, personal relationships matter more than the internet ads and all that kind of stuff, and going viral on the internet. The personal relationship, because the candidate who shows up at your cookout and to go to your church and showing up to your community events, and you might see them at the store, and y'all strike up a conversation, or you might see them at the kids' school or something. It beats the candidates with the bigger budget when your community is organized. These bigger budgets where they being paid, like I said on the part 1 and 2, being paid by these corporations with the dark money. It's a little more transparent. Not saying that it's perfect, because this is an example of a barber in a small town started bringing men together in his shop to talk about what was going on with the voting situation. Then they grouped up in the barbershop. Now, this started all in the barbershop. Then they started showing up to the city council meetings. Then this barber, he ran for the city council himself. He got more votes than any other candidate in the history of that town. And they elected the majority melanated city council in that town's history. That was the first time it happened. And it's not even a miracle. It's called organized people. And that is available to all of us right now. It really is. It's always been available to us. And this is what you can do. This, part 4, you can build your own politics. You can actually, I'm going to say it again, you can build your own politics. And this is the community model. We don't have to keep waiting for them to give us a choice or tell us what we can do or set us free or tell us that we can establish our own officials and stuff like that and pull our power together. We've done it before. When we were segregated, we had our own political people and different things that we pulled together and did and had our own leaders and stuff like that. Sometimes things is a blessing and a curse, because when we were more so segregated, we had things to ourselves, and we sometimes when you integrate and like you disappear, you can disappear, your power can disappear, it sometimes when you integrate or you diversify, sometimes it's not always a good thing. It can be, but it's a dark side to that, because sometimes your power can disappear. It can get all confused and the lines are merged and people don't get seen in different things or heard or their needs don't get met. So like I said, stop waiting for them to give you a choice and make your own. I need you to lock in with what I'm about to say. Like, just think about this. It's happened before. This is not anything that has never happened under the sun. Think about if you picked your own candidate before the official election. You picked your candidate. What if you didn't wait for the party to tell you who to vote for? Like, think about that. Like I've been thinking about this for a very long time, but what if you chose your own people to represent you? And this has actually been done. It's called a community candidate model. You know, I think about how I've been listening to even Dr. Claude Anderson for a very long time, and, you know, learning how to break things down simple for a child to understand, you know. So this is called a community candidate model, and I'm going to break it down very simple. It's something that can be started like right within your group right now. It's something you can start off small. And black communities, I mean, I say melanated because saying black, that's a status. If you look in the Black's Law book, that's actually a status. It was established. Black and white is a status. We are melanated. I call myself melanated, indigenous to the Americas, the originals. And I don't say that like with thinking I'm better than anybody else or whatever, because I don't even think it was invented, the black and white thing, but it is a such thing as racism. People do look at skin color. It does exist. I'm just saying that it's a construct that was invented as a status. But if you hear me saying melanated, I'm referring to what you think is probably black, but I don't call myself that. I call myself indigenous to the Americas, melanated, or the original. I got this photo from a Cedar Duke of Tears. Check him out. Melanated communities use versions of this throughout history. It's already been done. It's called the community candidate model. And it's very simple. First, your community gathers. Even if it's a few people, like it could be 5 or 10 people. Y'all can gather wherever, like at your house, in the damn park, somewhere where you can have some privacy, you know, with all the stuff going on now. You know, they watching and listening and everything, but you can gather at the church. It's not illegal for us to gather 5 or 10 people. It could be even less than that. You can start off with a couple of people and build up. You can start off at the barbershop, the community center. Doesn't matter. Just gather, you know. Just gather somewhere. Gather together wherever you can. It could be under a tent. It could be outside, anywhere. In your car, a couple of people. If it's hot and you don't want to be out in the sun, you know. You gather with people that actually have the community's best interest at heart, not just because, you know, you think they look a certain way or they can speak really well. We've seen in times past that people that can speak really well don't have the community's best interest at heart. That's the charismatic preacher type energy. Okay, it's good that to get motivated by people speaking and their great speaking ability and gift of gab, but we have to start as a community, stop looking for a savior. And I'm talking about myself too, because I've been there where I was on that, you know, fight the power black. And you looking at a person that leads you out of the wilderness and all this kind of that. Look, they said it with J. Edgar Hoover. They said if it was ever going to be another Messiah, they was going to create one and send one. They did not want us to have another one. So you know what? We have to get in a constructive mindset of saying we are not going to depend on a person to lead us out of the wilderness, to take us out of Egypt and all that, and take us to the promised land. We're going to build up an institution and things that's going to last, okay? We're going to set it up right, because if you do mandates and protocols and your mission and you put it into certain dialogues and set it up and construct it, they can't take that out. They can't take that out, because when one person, they take out a person or put them away or take them, then the program's still gonna go on. The institution gonna keep going on. You don't build it focus on a person or how they speak. You vet them. You vet the person. You vet them together, not just in their resume. You don't just look at, like, do they have this type of education, or, you know, what kind of power do they have, or do they got money and they this and that. That's how we got to stop vetting people based on, what kind of this and that they got, what kind of money they got. That's not necessarily a person that we want to represent us. You got to look at a person's character and how do they treat people. You got to listen at, like, how do they show up? Do they change? Even in the Bible and stuff, it talks about the people changing up in diverse ways. You got to see how consistent they are. It takes time. You can't just make these choices by getting on the phone and talking to somebody and they making you feel good and telling you we shall overcome and all that. No, that's not how you vet somebody. It takes more than that. You got to really take the time and watch people. You got to observe. You got to become like a watcher. Not saying that you got to become no fallen angel, but you have to observe and watch and vet people. And research, deeply research. Don't just ask because people can pay people to say good things. Like when you look at a rating, you can actually go and people can actually pay for that. They can do the payola thing with that too, for somebody to say all this good stuff about them. So you got to observe people yourself. And you got to see if they have the community's best interest at heart. And you got to, even after you see that, you got to keep on observing and watching. You got to be in line with your discernment. You vet them together, not just the resume. Like I said, looking at the character, not how much money they got, not how good they look, not how they talk and got to get the gab and make you feel good like you're going to rise to the mountaintop and all that. Nope. You know what I'm saying? That's old. We cannot depend on somebody to take us out. That's the problem. We've been focusing on somebody coming to save us. No, we have to save ourselves, but we have to build up institutions that will last throughout us being gone or somebody trying to take us out, or they can't take out the institution or the movement because it's rooted and constructed and raised up right. Okay, we gotta look at, do they show up on election season? Do they have a history of community service? And don't even just go by, like I've seen people, on and the internet talking about how they work with people and children, and then you hear them talk and you're like, oh my God, like this person, they must have been doing some type of community service because they was in trouble, because they sure don't have a heart for the people, because there's no way in the world that you're going to get some money and start changing up. The money bring out your real character. The money bring out who you truly are. It don't change you. It just show who you really are. So we have to be careful, because sometimes, like I say, our people, when we hear somebody that talk a certain way and they move us, we think that's a leader. That's not necessarily a leader. That's not necessarily a good person just because they got money and just because they got this degree or that degree, or they know this person or they famous. That does not mean they have character. That does not mean they are a good leader. That does not mean they have the community best interest at heart. We have to be careful with how we vet people. So then after we vet them and see if they really about that life and about the community, after much vetting, not just because we have a tendency, if we like somebody, they cool, we think they all right. That does not mean that they need to lead. They need to be a candidate that represents us just because we like somebody. You know what I'm saying? Then we can endorse them collectively. We will pool amounts of money, and we could do it by word of mouth. We can organize the family, with the block, whatever. Sometimes it might be your spiritual family or people that's got the same mindset. You might can't do this with blood relatives. It may be spiritual family where y'all pool together. Just a few people. The church, it could be, even if you don't go to church, it can be the church, because you know what I'm saying? But if you don't go to church, it could be another group wherever you hang out at. You know what I'm saying? The candidate, y'all pool together and get this candidate on election day. Show up on election day for your candidate. Show up for them. Then you hold them accountable. Step 4, you hold them accountable after they win, because if they know that the community put them there and can take them out, they got to answer to the community, not to a corporate donor that's paying that dark money. You the one paying them. You know what I'm saying? Even Claude Anderson said that. I've been looking at him for a while now and going by his stuff, trying to, build, the way I can, because a lot of times, people not on your page and you got to vet people and find like-minded. That's not so easy, but it's not impossible, If it's somebody like you out there that's willing to build, it's somebody else like you. You might not have met them yet, but if you keep right on putting your pieces together, it'll all come together and you will meet like-minded people. If you out there and you thinking like that, it's somebody else that's in alignment and on your frequency too. It might not be somebody that it's bliss if you know people right now, but if you have not resonated to meet them people yet, they are out there. It might not be your family, it might not be blood relatives, but it's people like you somewhere. And this don't even require a new political party for you to do this. This community, what is it called?
It's called a community candidate model.
It doesn't even require you to having a new, you don't have to be like, well, we starting a new political party and all this and that. You know what I'm saying? Yeah, you don't have to start. It don't require anyone's permission. It just requires organized people who decide to stop outsourcing their power. You know what I'm saying? Stop giving your power away and letting people decide for you. The key thing, though, you build an institution around this process. You build the institution around this. You don't build it around one leader or one person or a personality or a charismatic speaker. If one person steps back or get taken out or they try to get rid of them or whatever they do, you know how they do. When they see, we already done seen it with Martin Luther King. Well, I digress. But even some of the other people like Malcolm X and Noble Jew Ali, several people, they already said that they ain't gonna have no another damn Messiah, melanated Messiah. Okay, well, the institution, they can't do nothing with it. They can then they had the other one, they'll put them in, make them political prisoners, and they either taking them out or locking them up or setting them up. Okay, but don't focus on that. Build the institution so it'll outlast all that mess, you know? That's all I'm saying. Because, you know, when you sit back and observe and study, that's what I do. I try to find ways that's, you know, bulletproof and all that. Like, they can't take out an institution if it's set up right. The institution is gonna hold. If you're not focused on the leader and building it, because we know that don't work. Like, once you get everybody all excited and they start getting popular and start trying to, like, Fred Hampton, once you start get that leader and he get charismatic and people start believing him, they gotta take them out so they can kill. It's not even that they can kill the movement. They know that once they take that person out or lock them up and put them in solitary confinement for 1,000 years and all this and that, they know that that's gonna kill the people's spirits of believing in a Messiah, believing in a Savior. You know, they know that. They know that people are looking to be saved. They looking for the sky to crack open and for the rapture to come. They looking for a Savior and all that. You better they know that a lot of people is waking up to realize now that it's within you. You got a key, you got an answer. All we got to do is just unite and resonate with like-minded people and start building for ourselves and stuff like that. If one person steps back or they change up, or they be like, you know what I'm saying, they on my tail, they on my trail, you know, it's getting hot, you know what I'm saying, they watching me, GameStop. If they back up, then we still got an institution, you know what I'm saying? Somebody else pop up. Then it's not about a particular person or a charismatic leader. It's about the institution, the mission of the institution to last. We want it to be infinite. If one person steps back, the process continues. The show goes on because the institution holds. That's how the black church has survived for 400 years. Now, we know that it's not perfect, but I've seen the times that back in the days and stuff like that, you know, the little storefront little churches starting out, they were pretty sincere. And they got together and pooled their stuff together and was helping the community, helping each other. I know the church I grew up in, it's not perfect. It wasn't perfect. But I know we started out feeding that's what I learned from my grandmother. Even before going to that church, that's what my grandmother was doing. And she wasn't a rich lady, but she knew how to be resourceful. She would feed people and stuff like that. She grew her own food. She was an agriculturalist. And I know that the church that I went to, we would do that. You know, we would pool our stuff together and have the building funds and feed the people on Thanksgiving, the homeless people, and do the charity work, and wasn't getting a lot of money and a lot of income because we pooled together and did things. and, you know, raise money and have funds and all that stuff. So it was very positive to see that. The people pulling together back then, it's not like that now. You know, everything, most of these, since they became church and government, and, you know, I'm not a religious person anymore anyway. I believe that, you know what I'm saying, you're supposed to be more spiritual, but I don't knock people's beliefs. But so the NAACP, and we know they have a lot of issues. That's not a perfect organization, but we got to look at the big picture. By them establishing, we can look at these as examples to know that no matter how much they have, you know, tried to say they're going to take out the melanated Messiah, the NAACP has survived 11 decades, and not because of one person, because the institution was bigger than any individual. I'm going to say it again. The church has survived over 400 years, and we used to have some really sincere churches, like even back in the day, like during my grandmother and great-grandma, that's where people went. I'm not saying that it was established all in the right reasons and religion. I know that's the military, but that black church, that melanated church, it meant something. They built something. You know what I'm saying? I look at the big picture, and the NAACP, even though they have their issues and stuff too, they have lasted 11 decades, and it's not because they look to a one person or that institution would have been gone. They set it up. The institution was bigger than any individual. Build the institution, not the personality. Don't build no person, build the institution. Where anybody can pop up and do the, you know, job, because you don't build the institution. And so this is the end of part 3 and 4. You know, we talked about, so far we've talked about, you know, the games and tricks that they play on part 1. Then part 2, you know, about the puppeteer and following the money and who the real enemy is and stuff like that. So, then we went into 3 and 4, and we have rounded it up with showing you how to establish your own politicians and pull together and build and funding your politicians and building up your political model, candidate model, and who is the important people. The local, we know that the local government, the sheriff, the district attorney, and what I say, the commissioner, the school board, those people are very important. It's local. So this has been my son Goddess 777. Please like, subscribe, and share. And also come back for part 5 and 6. Thank you for watching The People's Blueprint.